Hi, everyone, and you're welcome to the Career and Growth series brought to you by the Yaka Initiative. My name is Ifeyiwa, and again, I'm bringing to you a much anticipated and most amazing guest. We have none other than someone who's actually really special to me. I'm just not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet. But we have David Kagba, David Onwa Kagba of David Kagba Photography. Drum rolls. Hi, David. It's great to have you on set. How are you today?
Very well. It's good to be
Thank
here.
you for joining us.
Thank
We're
you.
going to have a very interesting conversation. We really want to delve into your career, business experience, and share nuggets and tips with the young people who follow us at the Yaka Initiative. But I guess a beautiful point to start from is to talk about how you fell into engineering. Was there always a love for it? What was growing up like for you? And how did you get to rise in the ranks to even technical manager in a power company?
Okay, so engineering, I would say I fell in love with engineering right from being a child because my dad is an electrical engineer. And so
Amazing.
seeing him in the house then growing up, repairing things, when things get spoiled in the house, he's the one that would
I
fix
was
it.
always a
So
handyman.
yeah, so I just loved it right from being a child. I can even remember then there was this social media platform, I think High Five then.
Hmm.
And
I wonder
what
if people can relate
no, there
with
will be
life.
nobody, they won't even know. So I remember then I put I want to be the best engineer in the world. I've been in Nigeria at that time. So that was how much I loved,
Wow.
engineering. And yes, I followed through till school, studied electrical engineering and came out. And immediately I got up out of school too. My dad also, helped me like start practicing as
Mhm.
early as I could. So I was able to do some projects then, some power projects in Ibadan with him before I worked with one of the, if not the biggest distribution company in Nigeria.
Yeah, it actually is the
Yes,
biggest
yes, it's
distribution
the
company in
biggest. So
Nigeria.
so I worked with them and you know with hard work and diligence I rose up to being a senior engineer there.
Amazing, amazing stuff. With a trajectory like that, one begins to wonder how photography then came into the picture.
Mm.
So that leads me to my next question. And I want to believe your creative side didn't start with photography. So there had always been that you, I believe, who loved to tinker with stuff, see how things could be made better, going right off what you just said about how you started out as a young boy watching your dad. So, how did your creative side really start to find expression? Was photography your earliest experience, or was there something before
Mm.
photography?
Well, so from I think primary school, I used to draw very well.
Uh-uh.
Yes, I
You
used
will
to.
draw me. Oh.
I used to draw very well, at least from what I can remember.
Mhm.
And then also in secondary school, I was very good with technical drawing. Like I could actually do technical drawing without using set square and
T
even till
square.
now, yes, I'm
Really?
not kidding you.
So you're one of those
Yes,
people.
yes, I'm one of those people. So and I could even also see some part of that in being able to cut paper straight without using a ruler and all
Hmm.
those things.
Hmm.
Yes. So, but I think when I started exploring my creative side was in the university. At least I started with graphic design then. Yes, so I was in this school fellowship, and it happened at that time that my roommate was the head of I think, the creative design team at that time. So then, whenever he comes back, or whenever it is time to create designs for the church fellowship, he would, tell us in the room then that, oh, we should try it out. I think I should mention his name, Kenny Olatero.
Okay,
Yes,
Kenya Lateral, we hope you get to
yes.
see this.
So he would always say, um, try it out, just try it out. So we got to install Photoshop on our systems at that time. And then we'll just try out some designs, just try out. And he would look at it and be like, okay, okay, cool. But for photography, I think it was just after my pre-wedding shoot. Yes, that I because I used to see photography then as just taking passport pictures, passport photographs. That was just my whole idea of photography. I wasn't really interested in it, but after I visited the studio of the photographer that took my wedding photography, my pre-wedding pictures, I was like, okay, this is actually more technical than
And the
I.
technical
Yes,
person in you
so
started rising.
exactly,
Like,
exactly. Like that. So
I can do this thing.
it's not just bring a camera and
And just snap
just take that.
away.
There is more to it, and it just sparked up something in me, and
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I think I should try this out too. I had done graphic design for a very long while. I was even using it to make a lot of money.
Hmm. It was a
So
side
at that
hustle
time,
at the
yes, it
time
was a side hustle
while you were
while I
working.
was working.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
while I was working as an engineer.
That's a great point. And, and
Yes.
and I think this is the right time to segue into when you started to explore photography and when you realized that this might be more than a hobby. So when did that happen for you?
Okay, so
Or how did that happen?
so there were other elements that were involved
We want to
in
hear all
that.
of it.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
listen.
Okay, so where do I start from now? Yes, so doing photography then. So by the time I had started, I was only doing photography weekends, like making money from photography just weekends. That's
How did you start
Saturday.
photography? I'm
How did I
curious.
start? Okay, so
So after your pre-wedding shoot,
yes, all right. So I got married after my pre-wedding shoot, obviously, and um, I think my first birthday as a married man, my wife bought me lights. She bought lights
interesting.
for me, and so those lights she bought for me, I said I was going to use it to take her birthday pictures. This was it was less than 7 months. Okay, no, let's say about 8 months after we got married. So my birthday is just few days away from her. So she had bought the lights for me on my birthday, and her birthday was just like 5 days after mine. So I said I was going to shoot, her birthday pictures with that light. So I, asked a few friends, and I was directed on where to, get modifiers from. Modifiers are those big boxes, you put in front of the
Those
lights.
big umbrella-like
Yes, those umbrella-like
boxes.
boxes. And then I bought a background stand and bought a background, two backgrounds.
All within 5 days
Then,
of getting these lights.
yes, I
Okay.
bought a white background and a brown background, I remember. And I took her pictures before her birthday, and I edited it because of the experience too I had from the
Graphic
days of
design.
graphic design. So I was able to edit her pictures, and we posted it. And then I also designed one logo at that time too, and put one very big logo. So I put it, and she posted the pictures on her birthday, and everybody was like, "Oh, wow, these pictures are really beautiful. Who took them?" And it was like my husband. I said, your husband is a photographer. And she was like, yes. That where's your studio? And my wife being my wife now said our house. And I wasn't ready for it at that time, to be very honest.
She
So
set you up.
yeah, she set me up. So so, you know, from then people, started coming. We had to quickly come up with a rate card. I wanted to say a very ridiculous rate card, because looking back at what that rate card
Oh my God.
was at that time was ridiculous. But we had to come up with something just so that we can start business. So that was how it started, though. And from then, we started shooting. We had a very small space at that time. It was a 2 bedroom. So how we even set up was we used one of the rooms. So I would be in the living room shooting, and then we
Your
open the door to the
customers.
room. Yes. So the customers will enter the room, and that's where the background and everything was set up. So I would be shooting from outside
The room.
the room, like shooting through the door to, well, that was how I shot her birthday picture. So and
Actually.
that was
And
how.
people still loved the
Yes, people
pictures.
still loved the pictures.
This is
Yes,
great.
yeah.
Amazing story. I told you we wanted to hear it. Let me ask you this. From circuits to cameras, quite a transition and a very bold one at that.
Mm.
I'm thinking of the fact that you had risen to a senior engineer and then you found this hobby, and one day you decided you wanted to make this hobby a full time job. Talk to us about how that bold transition happened and what might have been going through your mind after you did it.
So making that move, hmm, well, like I said earlier, there were a lot of elements that were involved. So, but for this particular one, it was more of family, right? Because at that time, being an engineer, you know, then we had our first son, our first child, and we would always drop him off very early at daycare and pick him up so late. It was becoming like so difficult, for us to cope. And then I already had this passion for photography, and my Saturdays, my weekends were always almost very busy because of photography. So at that point, I felt if I put in more time to photography, that I would be more productive in that aspect. So coupled with that fact, my child not getting enough parent time, I know that at least he should get that time, even if it's from one parent. He should, instead of just outsourcing everything completely to outsiders. So I had a discussion with my wife, and like, okay, I want to do this, and she was like, okay, no problem, I'll support you whatsoever. And I did that. I quit engineering at that point and focused on photography. To be honest, it wasn't so easy, but yes, my wife kept true to her word, and she supported me for quite some time because it was tough. I remember then when at the end of every month, because at that time we used to get paid around 25th, 26th, 27th. So it was like PTSD. When you get any SMS in that time, you just think that, oh, it's a lot.
It's your time.
And you just see maybe one funny text message from MTN or all those funny. So it was tough, right?
Hmm.
It was tough. I won't say it was easy. I won't say transition was easy. It wasn't easy. But I thank God for where we are now. Yeah.
I think you've shared some really poignant thoughts. I'm thinking and wondering how a young person who's listening to you will best appreciate what you've talked about, which means when you're making a transition there are some things that you must think about.
Yes.
So it leads me to my next question. What were those decisive steps that you realized you had to take either during the transition, before the transition, or after the transition? Why this is so important is because we can learn a lot from your experience. Young people who want to transition businesses to careers or careers to businesses or even combine both would learn a lot from understanding those decisive steps. So talk to us.
So for me transitioning to photography, well, or I'll just maybe speak generally.
Okay.
Like for anyone trying to transition, you should do proper research on the field that you want to transition into. Find out everything, like no matter how insignificant you think it is, like find out every tiny detail of information you need to find about that field that you
Mm.
want to transition into, the cost implications, the sustainability. That's also very important, right? Because um, one of the things I probably didn't know about transitioning into photography is that you don't stop buying.
Hmm.
Like you have to keep buying, you have to keep upgrading, you have
Because
to,
you're
because
keeping up with the times.
yes, exactly. And if you say, okay, I'm just going to stick with what I have, that can work for you for a
For a period
while,
of
you
time.
get. But after a while, you'll find out that every other
Everything is
person
obsolete.
has improved and you're left behind, and photography gear isn't cheap, not even in this time with the economy. It's not. So you have to be very ready. In fact, if there is anybody there listening to me that is thinking of maybe just, I want to do photography, I would advise you either have a sponsor, right? Somebody that is going to supply you. Maybe like your father is as rich as David Adeleke or Dangote, you get, so that they just buy all the gear for you. Because to get a camera, like the cheapest camera you can get now, is not less than ₦1 million. Like, and that's just the body alone. We're not talking about the lenses. So you need a lot of capital investment to venture into photography, right? So those were part of the issues. Luckily for me, I had worked for a very long time. So I had some capital, and in that time of my work, I was purchasing gear. So
By
it was
gear,
not,
you mean
yes,
photography
photography
equipment?
equipment. So it was not so difficult for me to say, okay, I want to drop engineering and move to photography, because I had purchased a good. In fact, when people come to my place at that time, they are always surprised that why haven't I started a studio, that I have almost all the gear that most photography studios have. So that helped me transition easily. It might not be same for someone who is just starting out, and that's why I said you either have a sponsor, or you have where you can get that capital, because venturing into photography is very capital intensive, and the sustainability afterwards requires a lot of capital also. So yeah, but what's most important is you doing research on whatever field that you want to transition into, and getting every tiny detail of information that you need to ensure you transition easily.
All right, I hear you, and these are very useful. Thank you so much. First, start out by researching. Don't make any assumptions. I remember on a previous episode I was on, and how the panelists talked about going into a course that she didn't know anything about. So you're stepping or you're transitioning into a new business line. Make sure you are going in armed with information about
Yes.
it. And then secondly, you've talked about the kind of support people should have. Family and friends is the best
Yes,
thing to
that's the
fall
best.
on when you are starting out. Is either you have a sponsor or you have family members who are willing to pitch in and invest in your business, or friends, if family isn't available to offer you that kind of support. Okay, my next question right now will be this. Were there any other fears or challenges that you anticipated as you were making that transition? So you've talked about the decisions that you took, but were there other fears, maybe things that stopped you at a point from making that leap?
So, ha,
You
thinking
mentioned one
about
though.
it,
You
you said,
mentioned the alerts, the
yes.
steady income
So
source.
that's, to be very honest, I didn't expect that. Like, I didn't know that it would hit me that hard.
That way.
Yes, in fact, I would say that I didn't. I actually thought it was going to be very easy to make that switch, honestly, because I felt, okay, this was something I was already very good at, right? And well, I had finance and I had support, just like you mentioned now about friends. I was still, you know, I'd not broken out of that friend circle of,
People
shooting
referring you
friends and
friends.
friends referring me to people. So I was still in. So I felt, okay, I should be fine at least for the next 1 year, but it wasn't that easy. So about anticipated fears, I would say I don't think I anticipated anything. I actually think I just dove in, and these challenges and issues that were arising were just coming as
And you started
I was
handling
deep,
them as they
and I
came in.
was handling it. Some really shook me, but in fact, there was a time I in fact, I regretted. I won't say I was regretting at some point that why did I actually make this decision? But thankfully for support systems that I had, um, it was not easy for me to also quit, right? Because people were there for me, friends were there for me, and they really believed that, okay, you're very good at this. You just need to hold on a little bit longer and see what God has in store for you. And we're looking back, like I'm very grateful for how far I've come,
Hmm.
right? But I didn't really anticipate, and it's not something I would advise anybody to do, right? Because it's there are so many things. In fact, I don't want to say there are spirits now because around, because there is a way it can lead to depression. Let me put it that way. And well, I don't want to use certain words. We know what depression can also lead to.
Hmm.
So you would have, if you're not prepared, if you don't have like a strong heart for that kind of thing, it can really tear you down. It can break you down. So anticipated fears is something people should actually,
Plan
like
for.
plan for, like build yourself. Anybody that actually comes to me for advice, at least I know two friends of mine that, that wanted to quit their jobs, and they asked me for advice. And the first thing I told them was, let me just tell you, the first year is going to be very hard, right?
Hmm.
Like, just anticipate it. That your first year, like, you might not make any money for 2, 3 months, 5 months, if depending on how long, but you might not make money for a very long time, and you would feel like,
You might
this
have
is the
made
end
a
of your
wrong
life. Do you
decision.
understand? So anticipate that. It's not easy making that switch, because for people to exchange their money for
The value
whatever it
you're
is you're
offering.
offering, they have to trust you, and trust takes time to build, you know, it takes time. So you have to walk through that time,
Build that
build
trust.
that trust, and be patient.
Hmm.
It takes time, but eventually it's an encouragement to anyone listening that you would eventually break through.
Okay.
Yes.
Great points. I hear three resounding points in the things that you have said. And first is you have to be resilient. You have to know that in making that transition, previously when you sat at your desk job or your office job and an alert will always hit you at the end of the month, this time around the stakes are higher, and so you have to prepare to stay resilient. The fact that in the first 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, it doesn't look like it's adding up doesn't mean you made a bad decision.
Yes.
It just means your staying power needs to be more. Closely related to that is you need to have emergency funds. And I've seen you resonate and reflect that over and over again. Oh, great thing I had a career and then I had saved up. So I had some level of comfort. So you need to have emergency funds or something to fall back on when you're making that transition. And you've also referenced the value of family and friends. Third thing that you have said without pointing it out directly is how good you were. Because you kept saying for people to exchange their money for the value you're offering, they have to have built trust and credibility with you or in whatever it is you are selling. People will not do that if they don't trust what you're doing.
True.
And you also talked about how a lot of your friends and acquaintances around you encouraged you saying, but you're good at this, you didn't make a wrong decision. Which means the fact that you are good at it gave you reason to be resilient. Because if you are waiting when you're not necessarily good at it, you're waiting in vain. So you were just waiting for the market to now begin to trust your work. But you were good. You were committed to buying gear, which means you were committed to growing and upgrading yourself. And eventually the market caught up with your expertise.
Yeah.
Today, you are a well sought out photographer, an expert in portrait photography and all other types of photography. Yeah. Make me understand how you feel every time you capture people's images and they are excited about a David Kagba work. What comes to your mind, especially with this journey you've walked us through, the transition before it all started to look like there is actually light at the end of this tunnel?
So I don't know how I feel. Like, but I know I always feel very fulfilled whenever I, take images, capture images of my clients. Like, the happiness on their faces, just like there's something it does to me,
Give me one experience. I know that you've had so many, but tell me about one client and maybe what they said and how it just made you know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing it.
Well, I'll just use a very recent one.
Okay.
Right, a very good friend of mine I did a maternity shoot for her, and you know, I sent her the link to her images, and I didn't even see. It was later at night I saw it, and she said that whenever David Kagba tells you one more shot, please listen to him.
Where did she say this now?
Like she posted it on Instagram.
She posted it on Instagram.
Yes. So like it just made me feel okay, like because yes, you've heard so many times, when photographers say one more shot, they don't necessarily mean one more shot. But I was glad to hear that okay, my one more shot actually makes a lot of sense. It's not you taking my time. Do you understand? So that was how it made me feel. Like, okay, so my one more shot means there's something I'm saying that I really need to capture. So that made me feel very, very happy. Like I'm grateful for the journey so far. It was not also a smooth journey because I also had to do a lot of self-development. That I forgot to mention earlier because it did not just, it's not like
It didn't fall on you.
somebody laid hands on me and then I just picked up the camera and started taking great pictures. No. Like I remember very well that time, especially the period when I was waiting while I would stay up late all night, watching YouTube videos, watching a lot of YouTube videos before I started attending some workshops. Yeah, so I
Oh,
guess
so you went for workshops.
Yes.
You built yourself using
Yes.
videos on YouTube as well.
Yes. But I watched a lot of YouTube videos earlier, right? Just when I started, a lot, like a lot. I can remember staying up almost all night just watching YouTube videos. And I'm not kidding. I'm not saying it as a motivation. I actually stayed up late. Maybe not every night, but most nights I was up watching videos. And I guess it's all that has translated to all this,
I imagine, were there times where there were people you looked up to and where you perceive you have grown in your craft so much that you're almost at par with them? And I'm asking this because I want to better appreciate your journey of self-development and also to make the audience know if it is even possible to grow so well, so good that it becomes hard to be ignored.
I'm thinking of the when I said the most humble way to say this without sounding like I'm bragging.
You already look like a
But,
humble person, so go ahead.
So to be fair, there are people that I looked up to now. I looked up to then that, to be very honest, and no disrespect to them, that I don't really follow their work anymore. Not like maybe I follow them on Instagram, but I don't really like get the inspiration I want from their work.
Understood.
Right. So it looks like I'm looking higher, and I've thought about it, especially to myself, that is it also possible that there are a lot of people that look up to me now that will, in the next maybe 2, 3, 5 years, will not see my work as inspirational anymore. And it scares me sometimes because I won't want to be irrelevant. That's the truth. So, but what it has taught me is that if you stop growing, or if you stop developing yourself, you would actually stop growing. You would stop seeing improvements in your work, and it's why there must be continuous learning. You shouldn't be, or you shouldn't feel too big, right, to stop learning. Like any opportunity I see, some people see it sometimes as me being what's the word now? Maybe extravagant or careless, right? And so they sometimes I even get stopped, like, take it easy. Why are you attending this workshop again? You've attended so many other workshops. Why do you want to attend this one? But I just feel like there is always something that you would learn, and you can learn from every experience, right? Whether it's a workshop, whether it's a class, there is always something new. Then there is always another, perspective you can see things from. And to a great extent, it has helped me a lot in my journey in photography.
I think this is a very powerful reflection point. As human beings, there's something we don't do very well. which is self critique, not with a view to bring down yourself, but to see how you can be better.
Mm.
It's quite commendable that you can critique yourself, even with how much growth you have had, and see what can be done to improve where you are currently at. You don't ever tell yourself, I've arrived.
Yes.
It's so humbling to know that even with how far you have come, you still subject yourself to that level of evaluation. And I dare say that's why you keep getting better, because you never feel like you have arrived. So you don't shun or look down on opportunities for growth. Please don't miss what he just said. That is so powerful and not something to forget. In all of your experience, I know this is a tall order, but please help us. In all of your experience across career and being a business founder, what is that one unforgettable lesson or moment for you, and why has it stayed with you?
For me, there was an experience I had while I attended my son's school program. That was, I can't even remember the year, but probably maybe 2023, 2023, 2024, right? And they had like parents were supposed to come around for the event, and there was this child that I think his mom came late actually because she still showed up, but I knew how the boy had cried and cried
Oh dear.
when he had seen every other parent and he didn't see his, and for a very long time, that event stuck in my head and it just made me, realize how much I needed to be around for my kids and my family. And, you know, it has basically shaped how I even run my business most times, to be fair. There are some decisions I make that are just centered around, how does this affect my family? Like, I don't joke with my family. So,
We can tell.
yes. So, and it also even strengthened my decision at that time, that I didn't also make a wrong decision being or taking that switch to become a photographer, because I thought about it that if I was still probably full time in engineering, I probably wouldn't have made that event, to be honest. I wouldn't have. It would have been difficult at that time. So that's one event that I would say had stuck with me strongly.
You're very philosophical. But I like how you didn't necessarily share an experience from career or an experience from your time as a business founder, but an experience from your value system. So at the end of the day, it's not even about being a business owner or a corporate career person, but your values define how you show up on either front. Thank you so much for sharing something quite personal
Thank you.
with us. Your bio, your business page, your bio says, simplicity is where the magic happens. Okay. We can tell from your approach to photography how that for you, less is more. But I don't want to, make assumptions myself. How does that motto, simplicity is where the magic happens, show up in how you do your own business, your photography?
So I've noticed, and with time, right, that, well, okay, let me just use a typical photography session as an example. When I try to, put so many lights, do so many things, right? Just, I want to, yes, it ends up coming out great, but I just find out, or I found out that I fall in love more with my work when I don't do so much. Like, for example, in photography, you can use as much as 3, 4, 5 lights to create an image, right? But yes, in as much as the pictures still come out very great and it gets the kind of audience that you might want it to, but I just find out that I am more at peace and and I'm more satisfied with when I create simple images, because at the end of the day, those are the images that even end up being timeless. people, I've gotten that
Consistent
yes,
feedback.
that feedback a lot from people that these pictures are timeless. And at the end of the day, when I look at them, I realize that these were pictures that I didn't even put in so much effort in. It reminds me of one picture I posted that went, I would say, pretty much viral at that time because I didn't sponsor it, and the picture had almost 850,000 views. It was a
Wow.
post, and to be very honest, it was an image I didn't really want to post because I felt then, which is something I've also learned, you know, on this journey, that it's not about what your Instagram in quotes audience likes, right? Once you are happy with it, you can go ahead and post it for the world to see because it was an image that I didn't want to post because I felt it was so simple. Like it was too simple. I had to even pin it, like it's on my page now. I had to pin that particular post because it was so simple. I didn't do so much. The background was plain. The couple in the picture wore very simple
Outfit.
outfits,
Yeah.
nothing flashy, nothing. It was very simple, but the amount of comments that picture got, the you know, the views on that image was just something overwhelming. And
Mm,
I've just realized that, yeah, for me, that's where my magic happens when I don't do so much.
that's great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. There's a question I want to ask, but I feel like you've answered it already. So maybe I'll
ask
just.
away.
So, how has your uh, career, work, and whatnot been shaped by the fact that you are a father and a husband? I feel like you've referenced it a few
Yes, I
times,
have.
but yeah. And
Mm.
I guess this is also valuable because it helps people see that you can be a multi potentialite and still show up very well at every front. You can have a number of expressions to you and not necessarily have one or two of them failing. So,
Yeah, so like the move, making that switch was basically because or was hinged to a great extent on spending more time with my family.
hmm,
So for that, I would say I've achieved that because doing photography gives me at least, let's say, 70% of my own time, being under my control. So I've been able to, manage that time and be available for my family when it needs me. It's still tough because there are sometimes I find myself, oh, I thought you left this engineering because you want to spend more time for your kids, but I find myself, still maybe editing or trying to strategize and all that, and
or
I
maybe even
find it.
traveling.
Yes, traveling. It has also started making me travel. So I asked myself, like, but you wanted to spend time with your family and all. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it all, I still find out that I still have that time. It's still under my control, basically. The client's work is just for a period. Once I'm done, I'm coming back to my family and, I spend time. So it's been a very good ride so far.
All
It
right.
has actually basically made me achieve all I wanted to while I made that transition.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you so much. This is our
it's my
final
pleasure.
question.
Okay.
And it's a word of advice to a young person who's looking to make a transition to a creative field, maybe photography or any other creative art. What would you advise them to do so that they are starting out the right way?
So I would say, firstly, I think I mentioned it before, and that's, do your research. Make sure you have done adequate research on whatsoever field you want to go into, because that's basic, that's foundation. And then once you've done your research, depending on the financial commitments you need to make, know if it's something you need to work for a while before you delve into, or like I said, if you have a sponsor, you can also go that route. Friends, families, yes, you can trust in them. And then having a mentor is also very important because there are mistakes. I wasn't really a big fan of that, to be honest, because I felt okay, I can learn it on my own. But there are mistakes that your mentors would have made that you will not make. And that helps you, it helps your process, it helps your journey, your speed in your journey. It can help you move faster than you would actually move if you were doing it on your own.
That's true.
So that's what I would say. And with that, you should be able to at least have a good balance for a start in any field. But most importantly, especially if it's photography, that just make sure you have enough capital investment, because photography is very expensive. It's not, it can't even be a hobby anymore with the way it is, except maybe you're outside the country. We can say, okay, what's in Nigeria? It can't be a hobby because it's very expensive. Very expensive.
Okay.
Yes.
This has been amazing. Let me wrap up this last question.
Okay.
So people clearly get all that you have shared.
All right.
First, when you are looking to start a creative endeavor, do your research. Don't go in blind. Don't go in with gray areas. Second, have a financial plan. You want to plan for the long haul, especially because it's a transition. It cannot kick off as quickly as your 9 to 5 or whatever it is you were doing. So plan knowing that there will be a waiting period, call it a gestation period, call it a period where things will be fallow, right? And then number 3, have a mentor so that you can learn climbing on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead of you and not necessarily reinvent the wheel or repeat their mistakes. If it is photography, plan because it is capital intensive. But this was so amazing. Thank you for the time with us. If you watched up until this point, then it's a great time to tell you he is my husband. But thank you for listening through the Career and Growth series by the Yaka Initiative. See you at another episode. Want to look in the camera and say bye? Bye.
Do you feel what you just watched was valuable? So do well to like, share, drop a comment, subscribe, and follow us.